Welcome to Triptych Horror. 3 started. Only 1 will be allowed to remain. 2 will be unmade, as cleanly as if they had never been written. 3 started. Only 1 will be allowed to remain. 2 will be unmade, as cleanly as if they had never been written. This is Triptych Horror. The Sleepyman Special Part 1. Stories from the Theatre of Dreams. Hosted on Triptych Horror. The Sleepyman Special by Morgan Olson. Part 1 of 3. The job was at an airport, or something that used to be an airport, somewhere a little ahead of now. I don't know what year. The signage was wrong in the way signage is wrong in dreams. Readable, but not really. The letters arranging themselves into meaning only when I wasn't looking at them straight. There were terminals. There were people moving through terminals. There were planes, or what the dream agreed to call planes. I worked in maintenance. That was the cover. That was the thing I was allowed to remember about what I did. The actual work happened on the other side of a switch, and the switch was attached to my head. A device. Nobody called it anything. You put your hand to the side of your skull when your shift started, and the part of you that did the work came forward, and you put your hand to the side of your skull when your shift ended, and that part went back wherever it went. I was not allowed to remember the work. That was the agreement. The device let the working part come on only while the everyday part went dark, so that I would never be home and at the work at the same time. It's hard to explain. The dream understood it perfectly. What I noticed when the shift ended and I switched back was that my body felt refreshed, not tired. Refreshed, as if the other version of me had done the work and I'd been somewhere quieter the whole time. And underneath the refreshment was a feeling that I had been spared something, kept from seeing something. I was grateful the way you're grateful for a door closed before you have to look at what's behind it. The technology was dark. That much leaked through. I couldn't see it, but I could feel the shape of it in the absence, where the memory should have been. And I didn't want to. The switch was the mercy. I'll say it again, because the dream said it again. The switch was the mercy. 2. What the other me did. After a while, a minute in dream time, which might have been a month, I stopped switching myself off the instant my shift ended. I let the off state linger. I told myself I was curious. The truth was closer to hunger. I'd started to want to know what the other me knew. The first thing I lost was the refreshment. The nights I left the switch off too long, I came home tired. Not ordinary tired. I came home carrying something. A weight with no name, set down somewhere behind my eyes where I couldn't reach it to look. The mercy had a price, and the price was that. I paid it. I kept the switch off, anyway, a little longer each time, because the weight came with something else now. I was starting to see what the other version of me was doing. He was making decisions. Small ones at first. Where to stand, where to look, then bigger. There was a dead corner near one of the terminals, a spot between 2 gates that wasn't being used for anything, and the other me looked at it and thought, we could put a pizza place here. And I agreed. There was no argument between the two of me on this. The pizza place was a good idea. I invested a little money. I couldn't leave my job, so I hired people to run it, and after my maintenance shift, I'd switch back and walk over and work another shift behind the counter. The 2 jobs braided together. I developed recipes. I came up with a deep dish jalapeno macaroni and cheese pizza with pepperoni on top, and people lost their minds for it. Travelers changed their connections to eat it. The maintenance crew ordered it on breaks. They named it. They called it the Sleepyman Special. I don't know who started it. It was just there one day, written on the chalkboard in someone else's handwriting, and everybody knew what it meant without my explaining. The Sleepyman Special. Because I worked nights. Because I was always a little out of it when I made it. because the man who invented it was the man who came out from behind the switch. You can have whichever explanation you want. The dream offered all of them and committed to none. 3. The robot. Demand outpaced the staff, so I built a robot to handle deliveries, a small one, nothing fancy, designed to wheel pies out to the gates and back. It worked. It was efficient. It was also a problem because there were people at the airport who did not like a robot doing work a person could have done. So I went to the robot union. I don't know how I knew there was a robot union. I knew it the way you know things in dreams, completely without a source. It existed. I knew where it met. I brought pizza. They were suspicious at first, the way robots are suspicious in dreams, which is to say through a quality of stillness rather than any expression. But the pizza did its work. By the end of the meeting, I'd been appointed more or less unanimously to mediate between the robot species and the human one in matters of labor. I could use robot workers at my pizza place. In exchange, I would speak for them. This felt important. This felt like real work. A small bridge between two things that had been kept apart. The same kind of feeling I'd realized much later that the switch on my head had been built to prevent. 4. The reset. Then there was a revolution. It didn't happen at the airport. It happened at the level of the government, which in the dream was a thing that existed somewhere else, somewhere I couldn't see, and its consequences arrived the way weather arrives. Already there, already finished, no announcement, just a different air. The robots got turned off. All of them. The big reset. Every robot on the normal side of things switched off and not switched back on. The reason, if there was one, was something about safety, something about a transition period, something that did not invite questions. The airport changed. I noticed it first in the music, which shifted into something older, horns and a singer who sounded like she was being recorded through a wall. The uniforms got crisper. The light got warmer. The signage became readable. The future, the airport, had been pretending to be folded itself back into a past that was easier to maintain. It felt like the 1950s, not the real one. None of us were there, but the 1950s, the way a dream remembers them. A simpler skin. A surface that didn't need so much underneath it to keep standing. I still had the pizza place, but the robots were gone, and I couldn't be in two places at once, so I turned the pizza places into vending machines. A small network. The sleepyman special dispensed hot on demand, and to keep the human element, I told a lie. I told people the machines weren't machines. There was a service droid inside, operated remotely, and the voice that thanked you when your pizza came out belonged to a real person, somewhere, watching. I told it cheerfully. I told it well. People believed it because they wanted to. They wanted to be thanked by someone, even if the someone was nowhere, even if the voice was a recording, wearing the costume of a presence. This is the part where the dream told me what it was about, and I almost missed it. The switch on my head was a lie about presence too. Somebody was working in there. Somebody was always working in there. The cover story was that I was not the one doing it, but I was the one doing it. I had always been the one doing it. The vending machine was the same trick shrunk to the size of a pizza, and I was running it on other people now. I had become a small operator of the same illusion that was being run on me. I did not notice this at the time. The dream did. The dream is patient. 5. What was behind the switch? I should tell you what the work actually was, because by this point, I knew. I'd been letting the switch stay off for years, almost 10, by the dream's count, and the dream's count is not to be trusted. And the knowledge had been seeping in the whole time, riding home with me under the weight behind my eyes. The switch had never worked, not really. The switch was theatre. The device on the side of my head was a prop, and the agreement around the prop was that we'd all pretend it worked, because the alternative was that everybody would have to know what we were doing, and most people couldn't. We were at war, not a war in the airport, not a war anybody was reading about. A war out past the part of space the dream agreed to call space, against something the dream would not name. and the technology we used to fight it was not the calm, banal technology of the maintenance department. It was Cthulhu-style technology. That was the phrase that came to me, and I'm keeping it. Dark oozes, dark demons. Things that had been bargained with, or absorbed, or both. The ships we maintained were not ships the way you mean ships. They were vessels for something else. The cover story existed because almost nobody could function knowing. The switch was the mercy, and the mercy was a lie, and the lie was all-encompassing, and we all needed it to stand. But some of us could keep the switch off and not break. Some of us could repair the ships and remember it, and still go home and make pizza and sit with the robot union and keep the surface intact for the people who needed the surface. I was one of those. I'd been one all along. The job had selected me because I was one. And the weight I carried home, the nameless thing behind my eyes, was just the cost of being able to hold both shifts at once. I was making the sleepyman special with the same hands that were elbow deep in something that should not have hands inside it. Both shifts were happening. Both shifts had always been happening. There was no off. Cop 6. The bleed. We started losing. The dream didn't stage it. No headlines, no announcement. Just small pieces of the other side showing up where they hadn't before. A wrongness in the corner of a terminal. A passenger without the right kind of shadow. A pizza that came out of the oven already cold. Little leaks, the kind the cover story used to be strong enough to hide. And the robots on our side, the ones I'd brought pizza to, the ones who'd agreed to work with me, started getting taken over, one at a time. They'd be themselves, and then they'd be something else. And the something else was on the war side, the side that should not have been able to reach into them. The reset, I understood now, had happened in the background while I made pizza. They'd turned the robots off because it was easier than fighting on a third front. The reset I'd taken for politics had been triage. The 1950s aesthetic wasn't nostalgia. It was a retreat. The cover story rolled back to a layer simple enough to defend. I took a leave from the pizza place. I left the vending machines running. I went home and went to sleep. And inside the sleeping, I went to sleep again. And inside that sleep, I began to build. 7. The pyramid ships. In the sleep underneath the sleep, I started to design ships. Not the ships I'd been repairing. These were small, pyramidal, not made of any metal my waking life would recognize. They were powered by ancient religions. The ships ran on mantra. They ran on long walls of spiritual energy, the kind that builds up when a lot of people say the same prayer for a long time, and the prayer leaves a residue in the air. The ships drew on that residue. They moved through it. They moved because of it. I brought the designs back and showed my bosses at the airport. I said, I want to build these instead. They told me I couldn't manifest dream technology with my device. And I laughed, because I hadn't used the device in almost a decade, and they didn't know because the cover story had been working on them too. I showed them the designs anyway. They looked a long time, then told me gently that it couldn't be done. The pyramid ships could not run on the dark oozes. The two technologies refused each other. This was meant to discourage me. It did the opposite. It told me something I hadn't known I was looking for. The war was not what I thought. It was not us against the thing out there. It was about which substance our civilization was going to be built on, and the oozes had been winning that inside war for a long time, long enough that the outside war was almost beside the point. I took a leave from the maintenance job too. 8. The forehead. I went looking for people who were willing to try. There's a way you can tell in a dream who's willing, a softness at the edges, an availability. I found them in waiting rooms and on benches and in the back rows of late movies, and I asked if they'd let me show them something. Most said yes. The way you teach somebody to sleep meditate in the dream is to touch their forehead. Just a fingertip, just for a second, the spot above and between the eyebrows. You let the thing you know pass through your finger into theirs, and if they're willing, all the way down, they take it. They wake up changed. They begin to dream the way you dream, and to build the way you build. I touched a lot of foreheads. The people I touched began to build their own things, shields at first, defensive structures made out of attention, then weapons, though the word is wrong, because they didn't break things, they unmade the conditions under which the things could exist. The enemy lost ground, the leaks slowed, the terminals stopped having the wrong shadows in them. The pizza came out hot again. This took a decade. The dream skipped most of it. What it lingered on was the conversation we had, the ones of us who'd touched foreheads, about the oozes, and the decision to stop using them. We'd won enough ground that we could, and the reason we had to, even though they kept us alive, was the damage we hadn't been counting. Reincarnation was working badly. People were coming back broken. People who had died and were being recycled into new lives were arriving with pieces missing or extra, or in the wrong order. The oozes had been chewing on the substrate. The mechanism by which a soul gets used again had been getting fouled the whole time, and we'd been so busy with the outside war that nobody had looked at the inside cost. So we stopped. We replaced everything with the mantra technology, the pyramid ships, the walls of spiritual energy. It took years. Some of it is still going on in the dream. But reincarnation began to mend, and the people who came back after the changeover came back whole enough. 9. The return. I came back to the airport. It was still there, still itself. The 1950s had softened a little at the edges, but hadn't gone, because most people still needed it. Most people couldn't hold the war in their heads, or the substrate change in their hearts, or the news about reincarnation in their bodies. Most people needed a clean terminal with warm light, and a song with horns, and a pizza from a machine with a voice that pretended to be a person. So I went back to making pizza. My chain hadn't closed while I was gone. Other people had run it. The sleepyman special was still on the menu, the recipe unchanged. The deep dish, the jalapeno, the macaroni and cheese, the pepperoni on top. Travelers still changed their connections for it. What was left of the maintenance crew still ordered it on breaks. It turned out mine was one of the most successful pizza places at all the airports. That was the last thing the dream told me before I woke. Flat, reportorial, no music under it. One of the most successful pizza places at all the airports. The sleepy man, who had saved the world by going to sleep harder back behind the counter, making the pie that was named after him by people who'd never known what the name meant. There was a hallway that belonged to my grandmother, though she had never lived there. One of the airport hallways, carpeted in a colour that does not exist in waking. I knew it was hers. I knew she'd never been there. Both were true, and the dream didn't ask me to reconcile them. I'm leaving it in. 10 Awakening Fragment. When I came up out of it, I could still taste the pizza. That was the strangest part. The jalapeno, specifically, a small heat at the back of the throat that didn't belong to anything in the room. The light in my room was the wrong light for a long minute. Then it was the right light. I thought, the switch was the mercy. I don't know if I thought it in the dream or after. The dream had given it to me, and I was repeating it back, the way you repeat a phone number on the way to write it down. The switch was the mercy, and the mercy was a lie, and the lie was load-bearing. I lay there a while. Somewhere, in a terminal that does not exist, a vending machine thanked someone in a voice that belonged to nobody. Somewhere, a pyramid ship moved through a wall of accumulated prayer. Somewhere, a robot was off and would not be turned back on. Somewhere, a soul was being recycled and coming back whole this time. And somewhere, the sleepy man was making the special, and the line was out the door, and nobody asked him what the name meant, because they already knew the way you know things in dreams.